Good afternoon, everyone. I am Katherine Snyder. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here this afternoon with all of you, along with our regent, Helen Beatty, with the Lew Wallace chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. On this Veterans Day, as we recognize those who have defended our nation while serving in the military, we often forget that people of all races and cultures have participated in that defense throughout the history of our republic. Most often neglected, our remembrances of service past are the contribution of our African American citizens. African Americans have served in all of our wars, starting with the Revolution and through today's all-volunteer military. But starting with the Civil War and through the Second World War, Black soldiers served together in distinct, segregated units. For our remembrance today, we want to particularly honor the memory of those who served in the Southwest in the U.S. Colored Cavalry and the U.S. Colored Infantry, also known as the Buffalo Soldiers. During the Civil War, all black regiments were organized in the Union Army. They were composed of black soldiers and non-commissioned officers, sergeants and corporals, and were led by white commissioned officers, lieutenants and above. After the Civil War, just as with the majority of the U.S. Army, most of these all-black regiments were disbanded. Then in 1866, a year after the end of the Civil War, the U.S. Army was reorganized and established at a peacetime strength of 20,000 soldiers, including 10 regiments of cavalry and 25 regiments of infantry. Included in that reorganization were 2 regiments of U.S. Colored Cavalry, the 9th and 10th Regiments, and 4 regiments of the U.S. Colored Infantry. The 4 infantry regiments were shortly thereafter combined into 2, the 24th and the 25th Regiments. The 9th and 10th were immediately assigned to various duties throughout the Southwest, but primarily in western Texas, New Mexico, Wyoming, Colorado, and Montana. It was the indigenous tribes of the Southwest that named the troops of the U.S. Colored Cavalry the Buffalo Soldiers. There are various theories on the origin of that moniker, but one is that the Comanche gave the 10th Regiment the name of an animal they revered, as they were impressed by their courage and toughness in battle. The Buffalo Soldiers also wore buffalo hide winter coats. The white regiments were issued standard army wool winter coats, while the black regiments had to make do with whatever they could procure. On the western frontier, buffalo hide winter coats were plentiful, fairly inexpensive, and pretty effective in the cold. The 9th Cavalry Regiment was stationed at Fort Union, New Mexico, along the Santa Fe Trail from 1875 to 1881. Its duties included building roads, escorting the U.S. mail, and responding to raids by indigenous tribes, mostly the Apache. During that period, the most notable action, along with the 10th Cavalry Regiment from Fort Concho, Texas, was their participation in Victorio's War, battling the followers of Apache leaders Victorio and Nana. In 1898, during the Cuban campaign of the Spanish-American War, troopers of both the 9th and 10th Regiments fought alongside white troopers of the 1st U.S. Volunteer Cavalry, also known as the Rough Riders, and led by Lieutenant Colonel Theodore Roosevelt. Since transportation was unavailable for their horses, all 3 regiments fought on foot as infantry. Their most notable action was the taking of San Juan Hill and Kettle Hill during the campaign to seize Santiago, Cuba. A famous historical photo shows Theodore Roosevelt with his Rough Riders at the crest of San Juan Hill after the battle, with the members of the 9th and 10th U.S. Colored Cavalry standing to his left. One of the troopers of the 10th Regiment was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for saving the lives of wounded soldiers under fire. The only other Medal of Honor awarded for that particular action went to Theodore Roosevelt, the only U.S. president to be so honored. During the Indian Wars, and between the 4 regiments, a total of 23 Medals of Honor were awarded to Buffalo Soldiers. One of the white officers who charged up San Juan Hill with the 10th Regiment was First Lieutenant John J. Pershing. He later served as the commander of all U.S. forces in France during the First World War with the rank of General of the Armies. His nickname was Black Jack Pershing, derived from his service with the Black Troopers of the 10th U.S. Colored Cavalry. After the Spanish-American War, both regiments served in the Philippine Islands during the Philippine Insurrection from 1899 to 1903. Several troopers of the 9th Regiment also served as guides or park rangers at Sequoia, Yosemite, and Kings National Parks from 1899 to 1904. This was before the National Park Service was established and before specifically employed park rangers were hired. All black regiments were maintained in the U.S. Army through the end of the Second World War until Harry S. Truman, President, desegregated all U.S. Armed Forces by an executive order on July 26, 1948. No longer organized as distinct black units, the contributions of all black regiments of the U.S. Army are preserved in the outstanding combat record they left behind and their devotion to their country. Today I am standing by part of that heritage, one of the 14 interred here at historic Fairview Cemetery, the grave of Private Henry Winstead. Hopefully I am not blocking this here. He was born in North Carolina in 1844, escaped to freedom in the North, and served with the 57th U.S. Colored Infantry Regiment during the Civil War. With that unit, he saw action against Arkansas against the Confederate forces under General Kirby Smith. His final assignment was as part of the garrison for Little Rock, Arkansas. After the war, he moved to Deming, New Mexico, married, having one daughter, and died on February 19, 1926. His devotion to duty and his country will represent the sacrifices and devotion of the veterans we honor today. Two other Buffalo soldiers who are interred here with their comrades in arms are those whom the Lew Wallace chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution are honoring today. Private Oscar Warner was born in Trinidad in 1886, immigrated to the United States in 1912, and obtained his U.S. citizenship through naturalization process in 1918. His 10-year enlistment in the U.S. Army included a final assignment to the 24th U.S. Colored Infantry Regiment from 1919 to 1922 at Camp Furlong, New Mexico, where he completed his enlistment. The unusual name of Camp Furlong is said to be derived from its location 220 yards, 1 furlong, from the Mexican border. He died March 20, 1926, after working 4 years as a tailor and merchant. Sergeant James Price, who is in another section of the cemetery, was born a slave in Moniteau, Missouri in 1840. After Emancipation, and in 1864, he enlisted in the 68th U.S. Colored Infantry and spent the next 33 years in the service of his country. In 1872, he was reassigned from Camp Parapet, Louisiana, to Santa Fe, New Mexico. He finished his career in Tularosa, New Mexico, retiring in Albuquerque in 1897. He died there of a heart attack in December 30th of 1901. Freedom isn't free, and as we honor the sacrifices and memory of the Buffalo Soldiers, let us also honor and give thanks to those who served and still serve among us. Thank you very much for coming out and listening to us today. We appreciate it. There's so much more to say.